As in every Pokemon game, you're like, wait, this cave is nothing here? I have to say, I expected this cove to be something. Yeah, but this is also an issue for some Pokemon games. Like, you find a hole in the mountain, right? You're like, oh, it has to be an item or something rare. Like, nope. That's just, I just died. I can't. Well, at least it's authentic Pokemon experience. The world design isn't very good. Man. This is a very authentic experience of Pokemon, in a way. Except, of course, the defeat screen, because... Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, there's a cove, right? I'm gonna jump down in the water. Clearly, it's gonna be a sticky Pokemon down there, right? There's gonna be like a rare Pokemon down there, shiny or something. Like, nah, this is nothing. It was just, oh, I can't get up now. Okay. Like another empty cave, right? This also genuinely really captured the Pokemon feeling. Like you go to a cave, Pokemon Void and Scarlet, they're like, oh, here's the item. No, there's nothing there. You know what other game is terrible at that? FF15, yeah. So often you go to this place and you always expect it to be an item, but it isn't, right? Yeah, Jesus Christ. Is Palworld the game we Pokemon fans deserve? So, Lord Modern here. This video I'm gonna do a review, of course, of Palworld that released yesterday. I've been playing it basically the whole Saturday and also yesterday, so I don't know, like 20 hours now, something like that. I played it the whole day, and it is a pretty decent game, just straight up. It's not like the horrible game, whatever. But it isn't very much Pokemon. However, actually around me, right, all the characters, all the pals, and I will keep probably referring to the Pokemons, the Mimikyus. Yeah, I will probably say the wrong word many times. They are exactly like Pokemon. They have the types, ice, water, fire, whatnot, right? And it's very, very Pokemon in that sense. You have like a human bat and so on, comment that later. But the actual main gameplay is actually probably much closer to Zelda and Breath of the Wild, or of course Tears of the Kingdom, or rather, generally speaking, like a survival game, but you have the Pokemon pass with you. And yes, the game is real-time and not turn-based, but I think it's rather more how you like are grinding a lot, and how you're getting items. And then after, I don't know, let's say 5 hours or so, but a few hours, but probably more than 10 hours though, the game actually turns into like a Stardew Valley farming simulator game. Something like a farming, you know, Harvest Moon, whatever. But yeah, half the game is like a farming game. And that's interesting. I like those genre. I'm a big fan of Harvest Moon, after that. And then Stardew Valley is like one of my all-time favorite games. So I like the farming genre. And in this game is that, of course, the paths then are basically your workers on the farm, right? So collecting your paths or your Pokemons then, and depending on the type and so on, right? And the animal thing, they're better at different things at the farm. It is actually a quite interesting gameplay. So we'll talk about it later, guys. If you have the video, please subscribe, like button, let's get into it. So it's really important to make the egg incubator and also the normal parachute. And you need the wool, both of them. So you get the egg, bam, get the wool also, right, as a cloth thing. And you need to get the same Pokemon, the same pal, over and over again. Like you need to defeat like 20 or 30 or whatever of the same wool enemy to get that, so you can actually be able to, you know, make the egg, right. And that also really makes the game quite different. It's much more important in this game to actually find the correct pal and then keep doing it over and over again. Like that's actually how you get most of the items on. Now you can finally hatch eggs, right, which will give you the better paths, of course. Otherwise, I think the most good paths are found by doing Bandit camp, yeah, Syndicate camp, basically, you know, Bandit camp, like an other open world game, right? You defeat them. So the game definitely feels way more grindy. And I bring this up not just a tip, but also how the game is quite different than a normal Pokemon game. It feels much more like playing a typical, yeah, open world game where it's like, okay, I need to get like 45 wool and get it up, so on. It is quite a different feeling. I suppose it's most similar to Pokemon at endgame. And then I see, so now I need even more wool, right? To get more cloth to get this thing, even though I farm for like an hour. So it is a very different game, I feel, seriously. Actually, the game doesn't feel like Pokemon at all. Well, it has the typical types, right? Water, ice, and grass, or whatever, and it's real time. But actually, for me, it's not so much about being real time and turn based. Of course, turn-based the gameplay very different, but it doesn't really feel like, because it's so grindy on this part. But it is a little weird, honestly, in the game, because even though you complain so much about like Scarlet and Violet, the other Game Freak, this game has very few different Pokemon, so they did pass them, right, for the first era of the games. And however, it's kind of intended in a way, because you have to like basically defeat the same pal 500 times, right, to get all the necessary items. High level, like now I have like a level 20 bird, right, which is near troll in this game instead of normal. So you have this bird, whatever, but much higher level, so now it can like one-shot paths to 1 to 10 or whatever, right? So I can easily farm, of course. So in that sense, it gets way easier. It gets way easier, right? And of course, the items you get, because it goes faster too. And actually dying isn't that bad because you can easily get the body back. However, this brings me to the game's biggest issue. So my first point there was like the actual gameplay is kind of like more grindy. You defeat the same Pokemon, the pad, over and over again, and you get the wool, or whatever, right, or so on. But the biggest issue of the game isn't that it isn't just like Pokemon or whatnot, right? Because it can still be its own good game by itself. Now the bigger problem is that the game actually, I don't say it sucks or something, but it has a massive alpha feel to it. Now the game is in a preview, alpha, beta stage, something like that. But everything with UX in the game, this game is very, very clunky. Okay, there's so many clunky stuff. So for example, I'll talk about it more later when you have your farm going on, which is actually probably the in-sport of the game. But when your pass, or when you do stuff, the game doesn't automatically pick up the item. That's me crazy. So you're crafting an item, right? And then after you have to acquire. Like, why? Just give me the item. If I'm building a new bow, yes, I want the bow, stuff like that. But the dying part, is a per example of bad UX design. So what I mean is that, so see here, right? Here's a statue. There down is a teleport statue, so you can go there immediately when you die. If I'm not going a bit defeated in the game. Okay, so now I am losing, right? I get defeated. So now I will have to respawn somewhere. So I used to be a UX design director a few years ago, right? And this game drives me crazy when it comes to UX design. Usually this is called UX design, but it also is called game design. But I mean, the thing is that the game has massive, massive flaws on UX. Like, it's frustratingly bad. And if it was just a release game, I would give it like -2 probably straight up from this thing. Because there's so many obvious like lack of life of quality or low-hanging fruits. So for example, now then, when I have to respawn, right? So you can only respawn at the game's like original places for the start of the game, right? On this current map that I have, you can have different maps and so on this playthrough here, on my second playthrough. So as I saw you earlier, I have the statue, which is over here. This is where we lost our life now. But as we know, there's a statue right next to it, right? There's a teleport right next to it. So you can only pick the OG statues. You cannot pick the statue you unlock. So every time you die in this game, you basically will always just automatically go here, right? Press here, and then I teleport over here, and then I will get it, right? This is like a minute of, and I must have silly. Oh man, no, but seriously, every time you die in this game, it's like 2 extra loading screens. You have to load into the wrong place, then teleport again, and then go and get it. Because you're always gonna have, more or less, will you always have a teleporter closer. But you get my point. It's always like 1 or 2 extra loading screens, right, to get to my body for no purpose whatsoever. The game should obviously allow you to immediately spawn at the closest station. If anything, I probably prefer it if the game just automatically spawn me here again, right? Instead of showing me the world map every time I die, just automatically spawn me at the closest teleporter I have to where I died, right? Because I'm extremely 99, I would say, of 100 times, right? I want to go back to my body, corpse run, right, get my items back. Very rarely do I want to spawn somewhere else and don't have my items, right? Because it's going to be incredibly hard. Listen to me when you're playing in solo. So it's a very, very weird thing, right? And even if you play multiplayer, okay, then it's less useful. But still, why have, what's the lack of all the different teleporters? All the stuff like I mentioned, like picking up items, it's really frustrating. There is no like good input button on the keyboard to jump into the menu if you want to like use items and so on. There's no like good input for that. I can't get my controller to work. This I won't like pull a point for, honestly, but still, I've tried when the game was released and tried before and so on too, and I haven't managed to get a single gamepad to work for this game. This is my latest attempt then, PlayStation 5 DualShock, but this works perfectly fine for. I played with this one on like Lies of P, very long and so on, last week and so on, no problem whatsoever. So it's not the game compatible, of course, quite new. And I also tried with another one, and I have my stick down here. But so I have tried with 3 different gamepad controllers. None of them work with the game. So it has a massive alpha feel to it, and I don't want to be negative in that sense because I do feel like the game is at least transparent with that. The game isn't like this is a finished version, right? So it has potential, but I have to say that the game can so easily be improved in basically every category because of that stuff, right? And there's a bunch of other input buttons that's kind of weird in the game and so on. So the game feels very, very clunky. Basically everything in the UI is quite bad, right? And so on. But it's all the stuff too. You climb, you fall down, it kind of looks weird and so on. It's it has a massive alpha beta feel to it by a large margin. But stuff like this, like when you die, it really frustrates me. And then the game also has like straight up bugs. I'll show you an example here. I mean, the game definitely has a lot of bugs though. I mean, I don't think it ruins the game, but again here, right? This is a floating rock, right? It definitely is a preview alpha stage. Now, is it a good, fun game? I'm trying to be somewhat fair, I feel, right? That's why I sort of say that the game isn't really the Pokemon gameplay. Like I said, it really isn't, because it is a survival game, right? You're freezing here, it's like getting an item. It's much more similar to Zelda, like I mentioned. And then it's like a mixture between Zelda, Minecraft, I guess, and like Stardew and Violet. And the game also has a bunch of different like role-playing elements. For example, you have this dungeon system where you basically go to an instance. It reminds me a little bit of like I don't know, World of Warcraft or whatever. We have mythic raid dungeons, so you go in there and you have a timer on you, so you have like 3 minutes on you to do the boss or whatever, right? The human fights are the same way for that matter, but they are kind of straightforward. These dungeons are more like an actual dungeon on time. So the game isn't bad in that. Don't get me wrong, it really does not play as Pokemon, but that doesn't mean that it's boring by itself. I still wanted to bring up all those UX faults though, because they're all very, very glaring. There have many bugs where my Pokemon is stuck in the wall, the enemy pal runs into like a tree or something, and then my Pokemon can't hit it. They're both like floating over a tree. Many times defeated pals are like stuck in like the sky or something. So there's a bunch of that stuff, right? But the game is still like somewhat enjoyable. Those have a bunch of different mechanics. So I mentioned earlier that one of the best ways to get new, better paths is to do like a bandit camp, right? So it has that like I'll say that MMORPG or that like open world exploration, Serious and Dawn, Spider-Man, right? Go to a camp, get a better reward, and a mixture with that with some kind of MMO feel to it, definitely. That being said, though, the game world itself, like I saw in the first minute of the video, it's somewhat barren, okay? And it just honestly reminds me of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, because sometimes you do find chests and so on, so it's better. It is better than Pokemon Scarlet. Scarlet and Violet is absolutely lowest tier of open world, right? So this is a better level design than that, but it has a worse level design than many old open world games where it's more populated, right? It's like more items to find and so on. This case reminds me, as I mentioned, of FF15, where you go into a corridor, you expect it to be an item, right? Where you go over to the left side and go around, but actually there isn't. But sometimes there are, right? But in an old Pokemon game, you would always have an item when you go around in the wrong route, right? That to me always bugs me in any game where you can explore any kind of area, and it's very clear that, okay, the left path is the correct route, the right path is the wrong route, but I'm gonna go right first, so I wanna pick up whatever item. It might be a potion, might be a new weapon or whatever, right? But you take the wrong path on purpose to get all the items you're talking about. I hate that in this game here, half the time nothing is there, right? And that really reminds me of Pokemon though. So that is the authentic Pokemon experience of the latest Pokemon game, but of course the old Pokemon games would never do that. They would always give you, the correct, like, oh, here's an item. So it's a typical like instance run. But now I started down in here, and like I said, right, I do find the game kind of barren because, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's empty areas of nothingness, so it actually is better than Scarlet and Violet, which is basically emptiness, right? They won't even have this mushrooms on the ground, but I can't really interact with anything, right? There's nothing really to find here. So I'm still a little bit disappointed in, you basically enter down in this game, and yeah, this usually is like this. You cannot, you some items to actually find, you can climb up there, but there's no item or no Pokemon to actually meet up there. It looks pretty good actually, in that sense, but I'm not finding anything, right? Nor am I really finding any special Pokemon. Of course, it's a boss later in the end of this dungeon, obviously, but yeah, like I can't like loot. You can't actually loot these things. So now I finally find like this is a Paldean fragment or thing. So I'm not saying that, this is what I mean. I'm not saying that they're all completely empty, right? I'm just saying that they are too, yeah, like they're how to say it, they're not populated enough, right? They're not empty, so they are not completely nothing there. But it took me like 4 or 5 rounds. I had to run like 5 rooms or something in this dungeon to find like 2 ores. So it's a lot of time. It's like, okay, nothing's happening here, and there's like 1 syndicate encounter, right? And nothing else in between. So I find it kind of weird. But yeah, this is basically the room where I find stuff, right? After 5 rooms of nothing. Gym towers, basically syndicate towers, like Team Rocket slash. I mean, see, this is Team Rocket. Come on, Jesus Christ, this is Team Rocket. Look at her, this is Team Rocket. My God, it is opposite Team Rocket. Oh my God. In one way, it's very Pokemon. Yeah, I mean, everything the Lure and Electabuzz. Yeah, everything. In this sense, the game is very Pokemon, yeah, but the actual gameplay isn't very Pokemon. Now, lastly, Palworld is basically a farming simulator in the end of it. And honestly, this is probably what I like the most in the game. The actual like combat gameplay is fine. It definitely can be better or whatever, but it's fine. But I actually do really enjoy how they have like taken the concept of whatever stardew and Violet into its farming thing, because it really fits the pants, right? So let me show what I mean here. So first of all, you see I kind of built a well-functioning city here, right? This is obviously like a really ugly village I built. I must take a picture here. It's super ugly for this video here. But you can see I have like my own quarry, my own little woods, right? So now my pals will keep producing wood and stone. They can also have like the wood production or so on. So you can basically like make the game kind of produce all stuff you need, right? And then you have to like automate your pals to work on different stuff. So this is quite good in the feel of the game, and you have to give them like little farming for food and beds and so on, right? So you're basically building a little village. To some extent, it reminds me of like Suikoden, something like that, because you only can't just build the stuff. You have to also get the correct pals to actually have the functionality of it. That I really like in the game. So show what I mean here, right? So if you go down here, you can see my pal board in this game, right? And now every pal at the base, right, they have their own unique traits. You can see the right to me here. So they each have like, oh, this pal is good with herbs. This is a fire pal, right? A fire Pokemon, so it's good with kindling. So you can use a different like forge or whatever. This is a water ice Pokemon pal, I don't know. So you can of course use like watery for the plants, right? So I really like the system here because it basically takes all the different pals, I keep saying Pokemon, I know, and takes them into like, how can I maximize their types, right? Slash what animal they are, perhaps, because they might affect them how they do it, and their passives, and then make them, you know, like work on different projects, right? So, for example, Pokemon Sun and Moon had you sending your Pokemon to this island that you could work on stuff with items on, right? But the game didn't care what was it, a Mimikyu or whatever. The game didn't care what Pokemon it was. This game here actually cares heavily what type you use. And like I mentioned, it reminds me of Suikoden, where it's like, okay, I need to find the correct person to be the blacksmith, right? The correct person to run the inn and so on. So it becomes like a really fun, like again, farming game, where not only are you setting up your farm, thinking about positioning and this thing where it should be, and you can build more than one farm and more bases than more and more bases, more and more paths, but also having the correct paths. Maybe you should even have 2 of the same, 3 of the same, 2 fire there, 3 of water there, you know, and so on. So it becomes like a more and more complicated farming game. So if anything, I think Palworld at the best is like a really good farming game. And the more I play the game, the more this gets enjoyable. Of course, the better you get at the farm, the less you also have to do any kind of grind, because now the Pokemon, sort of the paths, are producing all what you need, right, to build new stuff. And then you can get new weapons or whatnot, right? So this is actually where the game really shines, I would say, and really elevates the game, because, yeah, seriously, why doesn't Pokemon have something similar? We have 800 plus Pokemon, so you can easily use different systems for that, right? And I've seen this kind of system, right, of course, in many other JRPGs, yes, speaking. So this is really great. Now, to be all angry, but I just want to point it out though, where the game really fails, right? UX side. For example, here, what I know of at least, you can't see the summary of it. So if I go here, you can see what every pal individually is doing, right? Okay, this is this thing, this is water, and so on. but you can't see like a summary. Nowhere here can you see a summary. I just want to have like, you know, like I basically take my Excel sheet and like summarize all the values on the side. Say, okay, what is correct? So it's really hard actually to like, okay, what do I lack? I have a miner pal. I have a woodworking pal, not a mining pal. Like I don't have a one pal with, you know, it's really hard. It's like 10 different abilities, right? And it can be quite hard to spot which one you lack. So I don't bring it up to be all negative, but I bring it up as a good point of where the game has, again, I feel high potential, but it really lacked a lot of this finer, you know, finer details, finer polishes. This again feels like a typical polish thing, where in a code base, again, this is probably an array, right? You summarize the thing and I make an array, and then you just write an easy code or a script to like, you just look at the whole array, compare the different values, and give me a summation of it, right? And the game doesn't do that. The game doesn't visualize for you the collective value or whatnot, right? Nor can you really see in the game your actual production speed. So if you have, for example, but nowhere here can I really like understand how much wood do I get per hour. So again, like the very bare mechanics in the game is, I think, is really great, but it lacks everything around it. I can't even tell me like, when do I have to return? Like, when do I have 20 wood, you know? I think about that. Okay, so I need to build something for 20 wood. When is that finished? The game can't tell me that. The game literally has nowhere to tell me at all. You have to just kind of assume, like, okay, I need 12 more wood. Yeah, it's like, okay. And that's how fast it goes. And sometimes they work on it, sometimes they don't because they go to sleep and so on. So yeah, it's really hard to, like, determine anything in the actual farm, though. You have to just be like, I guess it takes like maybe 5 minutes. You have to polish that diamond. It's very, very rough. I think the game is going to get a lot better when they work on it more, right? Because that's a good thing, at least. These kind of issues in any kind of product is stuff you can, I would say, easily fix, but it's easier to fix something when it's like fundamentally this works, but the finer details are bad, right? If it's the opposite, it's like great somehow execution on details, but the fundamentals are terrible. It's built on a nothing foundation, right? That's basically impossible to fix. So at least it has that way. I can see it becoming a lot better game. But right now, I would say I think the game is pretty fun. I would recommend the game, but not necessarily as a Pokemon game, because yeah, it doesn't really come off as a Pokemon game in the end of it. But if you like a survival game and you like the concept of like a farming thing going on the sideline, and then of course, yes, all the paths are basically a rip-off Pokemon. Let's be honest, they all look. You have the Vulpix, you have the Pikachu Directabuzz, so that thing is very imaginative. So if you like that, check the game out. Alright, guys, please subscribe, slap button, have a great day. Oh yeah, lastly, you can't even turn off the game. This is what I mean. Yeah, seriously. I was gonna turn off the game after doing the video. I was like, yeah, it's true. We need to turn off the game. The game doesn't have turn off. You have start, you're on a multiplayer game, survival option. Like you can't actually like. There's no way to exit the game, okay? There's no way to, like, turn off the game. See, this is what I mean. The game is good, but, like, basic fundamental gameplay. But, my God, you can't even turn off the game. There is no way to turn off the game. There's no turn off. There is no exit the game. This game doesn't do anything. It doesn't work.